This is LibreQuest. My name is Matt. It is the 16th of October, 2019. The first article that I have today is from omgubuntu.co.uk. Must read: the Ubuntu 20.04 LTS codename has been revealed. This article, posted by Joey Snedden, says it was updated 3 hours ago. The Ubuntu 20.04 LTS codename has been revealed on Launchpad, home of Ubuntu development, following Ubuntu 19.10 Eon Ermine, and I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. The next version of Ubuntu will, as expected, be based around the letter F. But it's not going to be Feral Ferret, Famous Fox, Finicky Falcon. No, Ubuntu 20.04 LTS is codenamed Focal Fusa. And if you are interested in reading more about this article, that's the main topic of the article, so really that's all I'm going to read. That's exciting when the codename gets released, so that's very cool. That's over on omgubuntu.co.uk, and it's under the flag of must read. The next article is from linuxgizmos.com. Article written by Eric Brown, posted on the 15th of October. Coffee Lake Embedded PC has 6 USB 3.0 ports, Gigabit Ethernet, and BMC. The BMC is a baseboard management controller. Trenton Systems is prepping a compact Linux-friendly Ion Mini PC with 8th or 9th gen Coffee Lake options and up to 32 GB of DDR4, SATA, DisplayPort, and 6 USB 3.0 ports, along with 3x Gigabit Ethernet, including one BMC linked port for out-of-band remote management. Trenton Systems has released a photo of the preliminary documentation for an Ion Mini PC due to begin sampling by the end of the month, although this mini ITX-based 178 by 173 by 36 millimeter system is a bit larger than what we typically consider to be a mini PC these days. It packs a lot of features, including 6 USB 3.0 ports, a Gigabit Ethernet port, linked on a baseboard management controller, that's the BMC chip, for remote out-of-band management of networking connections. Lawrenceville, Georgia-based Trenton Systems, formerly known as Trenton Technology, has been building x86-based systems for several decades. Here's a Xeon-based JXM7031 micro ATX board, covered on our old Linux devices site back in 2010. One reason we have not covered Trenton and Linux Gizmo's 6-year history is that the company focuses primarily on rugged servers, which are generally beyond the scope of our coverage. Yet not only is Trenton launching its first compact embedded system with the Ion Mini PC, but the website also promises a line of COM Express Type 7 modules coming soon. All right, I'm going to leave the article there. If you're interested in reading the rest of that, it's over on linuxgizmos.com. The next article is from news.softpedia.com. Google launches the Pixel 4 with Android 10, astrophotography, and motion sense. This was posted by Marius Nestor on the 15th of October. Google officially launched today the long-rumored and leaked Pixel 4 smartphone, a much-needed upgrade to the Pixel 3 and 3a series with numerous enhancements and new features. The Pixel 4 smartphone is finally here, boasting upgraded camera with astrophotography capabilities so you can shoot the night sky and Milky Way without using a professional camera, a feature that will also be ported to the Pixel 3 and 3a devices with the latest camera app update, as well as live HDR Plus support for outstanding photo quality. You can use Night Sight for shots of the night sky and the stars and even the Milky Way when you find a clear night, said Brian Rakowski, Vice President of Product Management. Pixel 4 also has Live HDR Plus in the viewfinder, so you know exactly what your photo will look like, even when you're using the new controls in tricky lighting. Again, if you're interested in reading the rest of that article, it's over on news.softpedia.com. That's Google launches the Pixel 4 with Android 10, astrophotography, and motion sense. So that's interesting news. I actually don't use a Google Pixel myself. But anyhow, the topic of today's podcast is going to be about Raspberry Pi projects, and specifically a Raspberry Pi project that I worked on. It's close to 2 years ago that I actually made this particular project. And I basically, when I finished it, I just kind of put it on a shelf and forgot about it, but I thought it'd be something interesting to talk about on the podcast today. And there are so many different options that you can go with when you're working with a Raspberry Pi. It's not just limited to entertainment. However, that's that's mostly what I use Raspberry Pis for, is entertainment. So I'll use them for like RetroPie or Kodi, or mostly that sort of thing. It's just a really simple and easy solution. I have emulators for Nintendo 64 titles and those sorts of children's games for my kids, and this device that I put together is really useful for that. So if we're going out of town or something, we can take it with us, and the kids could use that to play video games on. Of course, we haven't used it for that because we really don't go out of town that much. But anyhow, so yeah, it really started back in 2012 with the MK802, and that's when Android powered TV sticks is what they were calling them at the time. That's when they were pretty popular at that point, and I actually got into using that device, and I've always used projectors. So, and I say always, probably around 2007 is when I really started getting into projectors and using those in my old apartment I used to live in. I had one whole entire wall of my apartment which was just a big projector screen, and I used that for YouTube or Netflix or the PlayStation 2 or the PlayStation 3 or just any kind of game that I had on my system. But I've always enjoyed having a projector just for general entertainment purposes. So I might have two in different rooms, but I always have at least one because, I don't know, they're pretty handy, especially for if you're using a Steam Link or something like that. And in fact, if you're watching the video, there is a projector playing on the wall behind me, and that is connected to a system that's not in view here, but it's connected using a Steam Link. So it's actually just streaming the screensaver behind me there. So anyway, that's a bit off topic about the screensaver thing, but just in case you were wondering and you've noticed that, my friend Mike actually said, he commented on one of my podcast on the video on YouTube and said, "Hey, your set looks really amazing." And I was like, wait a minute, I guess he hasn't been over to LAN because this isn't a set. This is just what the room looks like. but anyway, so yeah, basically this project, I started in 2012 with the MK802, and then I went to a Rock chip based Android device, but I think this is like the 7th iteration that I've made of just a mini computer mixed with a projector. And the goal was just to basically get it as small as possible so to be like travel friendly. So basically I have the Raspberry Pi 3, and it's connected to a battery compartment, a AA battery compartment, I guess is the way to say it. It's an enclosure with a switch, with an on-off switch. And so that's what's connected to the Raspberry Pi and powers it. Now, they are NIMH batteries, so when they're fully charged, they might be a little bit over the voltage, the 5 volts, but it's within the tolerance of the Raspberry Pi, so I haven't had any issues there. But the power does dip down. So I actually ordered a light indicator for NIMH batteries, specifically for 4.8 volts, and it gives you a green light if the battery's fully charged, and then it gives you a red light if it's not fully charged. So the problem that I ran into on this system is I'm actually using a Brookstone keychain projector, and the reason I went with that is because it's very small and it uses standard HDMI input. Of course, it's a micro HDMI connector, but I used a HDMI to micro HDMI ribbon connector that was actually 4 FPV drones, so it has the RF shielding on it, which looks kind of cool. It's not really useful for what I'm using it for, but it still looks kind of cool just on there. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead, if you're watching the video version, I'm going to go ahead and start showing the video of this device that I put together. So yeah, it's just the Raspberry Pi, and the operating system that's running on it is Recalbox, and I really like Recalbox. If you've not used Recalbox, it's pretty nice. It's RetroPie and Kodi, and the cool thing is on the latest version of the RetroPie, and at least on Recalbox, when you plug in a USB controller, you don't even have to configure it anymore. I was really surprised because I plugged in a controller to shoot some of this video and I didn't even have to configure it. So that was pretty awesome. So basically this is a Raspberry Pi. It's sitting on top of 4 AA rechargeable batteries, and it has a charge sensor. And then on top of that is the Brookstone keychain projector, and that projector is actually pretty crazy. It's got active cooling, so it actually has a fan in there and a heat pipe on top of the DLP chip. So it actually has active cooling in this tiny little keychain projector, which is just kind of crazy. So if you're watching the video, this is just games that were included with the latest version of Recalbox that I'm showing here. I didn't actually load anything on here, like any ROMs or anything like that. It's just what you get with a standard Recalbox install. So, but the thing with this build is it's kind of crazy, because if the projector is not fully charged, then that little indicator light is always red, and I get the power notification, the little power icon flashing in the top of the screen. But still, so I have to make sure that the little mini projector is fully charged before I actually try and use it, or it's going to always flash that little yellow lightning bolt in the top right corner. But it's very handy to have something small like this if you want to, take it out when you're out of town or whatever, and you've got your kids with you and they want to play some video games, or if you want to watch Hackers, because I actually watched Hackers on this thing. And this keychain projector is, I think it's like 25 lumen. It might be 15 lumen. It's not very bright at all, but paired with the Raspberry Pi, it's just kind of awesome because it's all a very small package. Now, after I made this system, I actually just lost interest in trying to make these smaller, and I've seen some YouTube videos where people have used similar projector setups with the Raspberry Pi, and it's just so cool to be able to use a Raspberry Pi for entertainment purposes like this, as far as like old video games and movies. And like I said, I've actually watched several movies on this. I watched Hackers on it. It was pretty cool. It looked like an old television, because I think the native resolution of the keychain projector is like 320 by 240, which is absolutely horrible unless you're playing some retro games and watching some old movies. Then it just looks acceptable, I guess. But yeah, there's all kinds of really great things you can do with Raspberry Pi. This is just something that one project that I've used it for, just solely for entertainment. It's not really doing anything practical. So there's a lot of really practical, good practical uses for the Raspberry Pi, but just straight up entertainment and just really fun. I thought this was a really cool project that I ended up putting together, and I wanted to do the episode about that today. So this might be, I'm not sure how long this episode is going to be today. I just wanted to talk about that real quick. And I'm actually going to be working on doing some content. I did an unboxing video, and by the way, Linux City, he did a video on YouTube and talked about my channel. So thank you, Linux City. And I would hopefully we'll be able to organize something, because I'd like to have him talk to him on my show, or me talk to him on his show, or however that works out. But I want to be able to do that pretty soon, because really cool that he did that over on YouTube, and that got me some subscribers, and that's really cool. So thank you, Linux City, for doing that. I noticed that today, and I just thought, wow, that's cool. And somebody actually likes the podcast. That's really nice. So now he mentioned the unboxing of the DOS 6.2 and PC DOS 6.3. And I was honestly, if you listen to the podcast, you know that I was pretty disappointed with the results there. And it was fun. I enjoyed doing that. But yeah, check that podcast out if you haven't yet. But again, thank you, Linux City, for talking about my podcast in that video today. And that reminds me, I'm going to be unboxing the OS2 version 2.0 here pretty soon. Maybe next week, maybe the week after that. I'm not really sure. I've got some stuff planned for next week that's more hardware stuff. And if you haven't noticed, I really enjoy doing a podcast about hardware and just kind of general stuff. just interesting things that you can do or that I've done. And I'm really interested in hearing some feedback, though. Feedback from other people that enjoy making these kind of like tinkering projects with Raspberry Pi or with Android-powered devices. It doesn't really matter to me. Just this kind of stuff is very interesting to me. And most importantly to me, it's running Linux. It's using Linux to accomplish all these different things, and that's really what the podcast is about. And if you're new to listening to the podcast, that's what this podcast is about. It's about free software and accomplishing different things using free software. For instance, on the unboxing video, I was installing those operating systems, or attempting to install those operating systems in VirtualBox, which was running on a Linux host. So that's what it's all about to me, is just the different things that you can accomplish using free software and using Linux. And yeah, some of it, of course, some of it's using proprietary stuff, or I'm looking at something that's proprietary, like some of the games and stuff that I've looked at. But nonetheless, it's all being achieved using free software, using Linux, and that's what the podcast is all about. So if you're new, that's what it's all about. But I think that's going to do it for today. Tomorrow, I have planned. There's so many distributions right now dropping support for 32-bit. As is to be expected, because it's 32-bit. I mean, there's not a lot of, I guess, consumer-focused hardware right now that is 32-bit. There's some, there's some, but there's not, like, you're not going to go to the store and buy a laptop that's 32-bit. And I mean, I might be wrong, depending on where you live. I don't know, but the majority of everything is like 64-bit now. So, but 32-bit is being dropped like crazy right now. So tomorrow, I'm actually planning to make the podcast about my favorite 32-bit machine that I have, just kind of homage to 32-bit and why it's so fantastic, in my opinion. But yeah, back to the main topic of today. I think I'm done talking about that. Raspberry Pis, they're fantastic. You can use them for entertainment. You can use them for and one thing I wanted to mention about this little machine that I put together is, like, I have a television. It's actually, I'm not sure if you can in the video. No, you can't see it in the video, but I have a television that's sitting right here next to me. It's a 19-inch. I think it's a Magnavox. It's a 19-inch Magnavox CRT cathode ray tube, a standard television. And I have a Raspberry Pi system that hooks up to it that runs RetroPie. So if I were to want to take this game system over to, I don't know, somewhere else, I could just pop it in that little machine and take it with me, and it's got a projector built in. And like I said, it does like 50 inches just fine. Now, if you wanted to make something like that, they're really hard to find, the keychain projectors anymore. They kind of sold out of all of them, but you might be able to find one on eBay or something like that if you're interested in making a similar kind of build as to what I made. So, but anyhow, I think that's done I'm done with the podcast for tonight. But thank you so much for listening. You can get this podcast over on LibreQuest.org. Oh, and let me address this real quick too. I keep thinking of different things here. Somebody had told me that they were having issues sending me a personal message on LibreQuest.org. I'm using PHPBB, and as a spam mitigation, factor of PHPBB, you do have to make a certain amount of posts. I think it's 5 before you can PM. But as the resolution that he came up with was to just use the contact us link on the page, which just sends a message to the administrator. So you can also do that, because I have mentioned in some of my previous videos, hey, send me a message over on LibreQuest.org. And so you could use that method as well. Just send to the administrator of the board, which would be me. So anyway, that'll do it for today. I'll see you back here tomorrow. I'm going to talk about some 32-bit hardware that I personally just absolutely love. So if you're interested in that, check back tomorrow. Thank you for listening. And I think I've said thank you for listening a ton of times, but seriously, thank you for listening.